What's up and welcome to 17 Non. Today we're going to be making a Kalbi Beef rice bowl. Kalbi is Korean barbecue, but for this recipe I'm going to show you guys how to do this at home. A rice bowl of anything is usually pretty good anyway, but adding Kalbi beef as well takes things to that next level. If you've never had Kalbi, then it's one of those Korean dishes that you gotta go and make right away. And with all that said, let's get straight into it. Welcome back. Let's begin by marinating some beef. As this recipe is for 4 people, what I've got here is 4 skirt steaks. For Korean barbecue, you usually use short rib, but I find skirt or bavette works way better. First thing we need to do is to make a little cross hatch in each steak. Doing this will create a quicker cooking time, but also it'll help the beef absorb more of the marinade. Try not to slice too deep, then when ready, place the steaks to one side for now. Now to make up probably one of the most delicious marinades out there. But first we need to prepare the fruits and vegetables. Peel, remove the core, then roughly chop 1 red apple. Next we're going to need an Asian pear. If you can't get hold of these, then an ordinary pear will do just fine. Again, peel, remove the core and roughly chop this also. Next, roughly chop 1 white onion, 5 green onions, 5 garlic cloves, and finally grate around 5 grams of ginger. When all of the fruits and vegetables are prepared, add to a large mixing bowl, then we can go ahead and top that up with around 75 ml of cold water. To the marinade, we now want to add some key ingredients that will take things to that next level, and also to give it that distinct Korean flavour. Go in with 200 ml of light soy, 3 tablespoons of dark brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of gochugaru, 2 tablespoons of mirin, 3 tablespoons of sesame oil, 2 tablespoons of corn syrup or honey if you can't get hold of that, and finally 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce. Oof, that's a lot of ingredients. Now we want to pulse with a stick blender or food processor until the marinade becomes nice and smooth. But if you don't have either of those, then you could grate the vegetables and fruits prior to adding the liquid. When smooth, the marinade should have taken on an almost coffee-like colour. And this is a good thing because I absolutely love coffee. Now season with some black pepper and a good pinch of salt. Mix again and adjust the seasoning if needed. Then we can go ahead and add the skirt steak. As we scored the steak earlier, this will help ensure that all of that good marinade gets inside of the beef. I know this may look like a lot of marinade, but we're also going to use this during the cooking process to glaze the steak. When all the steak is added, cover tightly, then we want to marinate this thing for at least 1 hour. Overnight would also be good, but I wouldn't take this past 12 hours. Store in the fridge and we'll come back to you shortly. Now to prepare a few delicious extras that we can add to the rice bowl. First, let's make a spicy pickled cucumber. This is a classic and works perfectly with Korean barbecue. Slice up the cucumber into relatively thick slices. Next, add to a large mixing bowl, then cover with around half a tablespoon of salt. Give the cucumbers a quick salty massage, then leave to sit for 30 minutes. And this step will make the cucumbers nice and crispy. Next, in a small mixing bowl, add 2 tablespoons of gochugaru, 1 to 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar, 2 tablespoons of sesame oil, 1 tablespoon of toasted sesame seeds, 2 finely minced garlic cloves, 1 to 2 teaspoons of white sugar, and a pinch of salt. Give everything a good mix, and this will be the perfect pickle / marinade for the cucumbers. You can adjust the seasoning by adding more sugar or rice vinegar. Then when satisfied, we can check back in on the cucumbers. After around half an hour, the cucumbers should have extracted quite a bit of water. Patch the cucumbers through a fine sieve, then wash under cold running water. This pickle can taste really bad if too salty, therefore make sure to wash nice and thoroughly. When ready, drain off the cucumbers and add back into a large mixing bowl. Next, add some finely sliced green onion and all of the spicy marinade that we made earlier. Give everything a good mix, and that's pretty much all there is to it. These spicy cucumbers work perfectly with Korean barbecue and will give this rice bowl a good texture. Try not to eat too much now and keep these to one side. Next, to make up a samjang paste, which we'll add towards the very end. This is often served with Korean barbecue and it's super simple. In a mixing bowl, add 2 tablespoons of Korean soybean paste, 1 tablespoon of gochujang, 1.5 tablespoons of toasted sesame oil, 1 to 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar, 1 tablespoon of toasted sesame seeds, 1 tablespoon of gochugaru, 1 tablespoon of corn syrup, or you could use honey, 2 finely sliced spring onions, and finally 2 finely minced garlic cloves. Again, give everything a really good mix and the samjang is ready. The flavour of this sauce is pretty intense, but we'll only use a little towards the very end. Before we cook the steak, prepare and wash some rice in usual rice cooker fashion. And if you haven't got a rice cooker, pause the video and go and order one right away. Now to wake the steaks up from their nap. After at least an hour of marinating, the beef should be ready to cook. First, you want to get the beef up to room temperature before we begin. Pretty hungry at this point and can't wait to get this thing cooking. Place a large heavy pan or skillet onto a high heat. Add a good drizzle of cooking oil, then get the pan nice and smoking hot. Remove the beef from the marinade, then add to the hot pan. I'm only adding 2 at a time to keep the temperature of the pan nice and hot. As the marinade contains quite a bit of sugar, we want to keep the beef moving to prevent them from burning. Every 30-45 seconds, continuously flip the beef. And these are going to cook for 2.5 minutes each side to give us a nice rare steak. However, for slightly more well done, then cook them for around 7 minutes in total. At around the 4-minute mark, we want to add some of the marinade. Add a few tablespoons and we want to get this marinade nice and glazy. Continue to cook for a further minute, and we're looking for the marinade to completely evaporate and to evenly coat the beef. The marinade can burn pretty quickly, so take care at this point. And that's all there is to it. The steak is ready and looking mighty fine. Remove the steaks from the heat, then add them to a sheet of tinfoil. Drizzle with any excess marinade, cover, then let these guys rest for at least 15 minutes. And with this cut of beef, resting is the key. 15 minutes later, it's time to slice this thing up. I like to give it a little hit with the blowtorch to mimic that barbecue flavour. All that's left to do is to slice up the steaks nice and thin. And what I love about this cut of beef is that it's tender and super flaky. Then you add the flavour of the marinade also, this one's hard to beat. Finally, fluff up the rice that we cooked earlier. And to take the rice bowl that little bit further, fry a few eggs sunny side up. And when the eggs are nice and crispy, it's time to build up this rice bowl. First, I'm going to add some kimchi on the side, but this is optional. Let's start by giving this bowl a blanket of rice. This might be a bit too much rice for one, but no one's watching me, so I guess it's okay. Now we can lay down that delicious steak. Fan out the steak to make it look a little bit more attractive. Then we can lay down some of the spicy cucumbers. Drizzle the beef with some of the delicious resting juices. Add the sunny side up egg. A good spoonful of the samjang paste. And finally finish with some toasted sesame and some sliced green onion. And this, my friends, is a mighty fine rice bowl. This may look a bit busy, but I promise you the flavors and textures are pretty damn good. If you made it through this far, then thank you. Also, if you haven't already, slap that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video. And if you have subscribed already, you guys are the best. And as for how this thing tasted, it was pretty damn fire. A solid 17 out of 10. Again, thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments if you get to try out this recipe. Have fun, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.